Hey there, welcome to the channel. So today may be kind of a significant day in the stock market. So I want to just kind of talk about that. Some things happen. So what's kind of interesting today. So if you've been like watching the stock market for the last like month or so, there's been a lot of selling in the high beta stocks or the high tech stocks. And so we've had some selling going on in that over really the last several months here. So for example, here you look at the QQQ, it sold off really hard in February, put in a W, came back up, put in a new high, and then it's been selling off again. And so today it had another big sell-off kind of a day here. Now, if you look at like the S&P 500, it really didn't have the sell-off. It just kind of didn't have any issues. And then if you look at like a lot of the high beta stuff, like your Teslas, your Neos, your EV space, Enphase, like a lot of the Kevin stocks, they've just been getting the crap kicked out of them. Okay. So, but today something happened. So today, what happened is the S&P was down about 1%. And see, the thing is, it's like it appears what could be happening and why it's maybe significant is sometimes what will happen is you have the underlying market and you have sectors of the market that are getting the crap kicked out of them. And so you have here like QQQ, it had this recovery, but getting the crap kicked out of it. Let's see what this one, not much, but really just certain sectors like the high beta stuff, the EV plays, really been getting beat up. And because they've been getting beat up, it's kind of like, it just depends. Like if you're in this stuff, you've been suffering a lot of pain, but if you've been out of it, you haven't really experienced anything. But so the question is like, was today significant in that all that activity in the high beta space is now, all that selling is now starting to bleed into the overall market indices. And that's what it seems like it's possible that could be happening here. So today, we had a pretty, like a 1% down, not a huge day, but it's a big down day for the S&P 500 on some up volume. So you can see, that's kind of why today's maybe a little bit more significant, because if this kind of can happen where like you'll have one sector of the market doing well or holding up okay, and then the other sector of the market getting the crap kicked out of them. And then, usually they don't diverge too much. At some point, one of them has to resolve. And so what may be happening is like the selling pressure that's been going on in the high betas and the Neos, the Tesla, the world, all that stuff might finally, in ARC, might finally be bleeding over into the major market indices. And if that's happening, then, it's possible we're in for a correction here. So that's kind of what kind of makes me wonder what's going on. Let's look at some stuff here. Dollar kind of flat today, totally flat, but it kind of sold off and recovered. Let's look at what silver did today. Silver had an up day and then it reversed and sold off. That's wonderful. What did the 10-year do today? 10-year went up a little bit. So you have that, this one. Yeah, so you have the 10-year. This thing had been, ramped up and everything, and then kind of came back to the moving average, held the moving average here, but then didn't go much higher, and then sort of punched through the moving average. But then it kind of put this hammer in. It's kind of a candle as a hammer. So it kind of shows, what that shows is that, you opened up at a price, and then sometime during the day you sold off to a really low, but at some point you recovered almost the whole thing to close. So what happens is you get a candle that's something like this. It's a tight candle, almost could be a doji. A doji would be like this, exact opening close. But you get something like this, and so it's kind of like a hammer. So it indicates, it's kind of an interesting thing. It kind of indicates that, you had selling pressure, and then it totally fought back and recovered from all the losses. So so that happens. So sometimes after a period of selling, you know, so here we had a little bit of a downtrend for 4 or 5 days. Sometimes that's a reversal because it's kind of an exhaustion, right? The stock sold off and sold off, and it didn't close at the bottom. It didn't close. It couldn't hold. It couldn't hold the gains in the selling. You know what I mean? It couldn't hold the selling. So and then it recovered. So that's kind of sometimes it indicates exhaustion of the selling pressure. And so we'll see what happens. So now you kind of wonder if like. You know, is that kind of what's going on here? Do we have a little bottom here, you know, and is it going to be a situation where that's going to be a pivot point to have it, you know, go up higher? And now if you look at it for the 10-year, you notice you have resistance in this area here, probably around 1675, 7, somewhere in this area here, right? See how it bounced off it before on this day and then went down. But, you know, now it looks like maybe we're coming back up at it. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, it's kind of like maybe a little bit of a duck and cover because, you know, now if we get into the indices taking a little bit of heat, that could be, that'll affect me because I have just sort of the indices. So, yeah, it might start hitting me. And then even here, your consumer staples kind of took and went off a bit. So yeah, so I think that's it for, let me just check some other stuff. Anything else I want to talk about? No, let's go. Now, one thing, what did I hear? GameStop. Now this is interesting. GameStop finally cracking. If you look at this thing, you know, if you look at this thing, this has, you know, it had obviously the pump and dump, but the dump didn't really dump very far. And this thing has just been in this very kind of almost like a symmetrical triangle. Maybe what I should do here is stop this and use an actual annotate. Let's annotate it so we can draw straight lines. You know, it's kind of been in this really, yeah, kind of a symmetrical triangle, kind of, you know, you going like this in this triangle, and now it broke out to the downside. So that's kind of a pretty negative for GameStop. It's kind of interesting. They really held it for a long time. They held it a lot more than some of these other stocks, but then finally it looks like maybe it's succumbing because we had 11% down day. So yeah. Okay, I think we're back. So yeah, so with GameStop, so that's interesting. So it's kind of breaking to the downside. So that's definitely bearish. You know, when that thing, if it breaks out of a symmetrical triangle to the downside, it's not so good for it. And then let's just see what other kind of high beta stuff is doing. You know, Apple down 2.5% today. Apple is kind of out of favor. Let's see, AMC, no problem there. AMD, what's going on there? Down day. Why is AMD so high beta? Aren't they a more stable kind of high earnings company? I don't know. Even Amazon took a hit today. Arcturus, crap. RK, yeah, see, RK here. You know, important to note on this one here, I want this one. And I want to go and I want to annotate. Yeah, so this one, you know, like we had this consolidation, you know, you can see it right here. It's kind of in a range, trading range, and then it broke out, you know, it kind of caught itself here. It caught itself on this day here, but then it like, look, it couldn't even like put an up day in here. And then now today it's just kind of broken down. So now if you look at it and you try to say, well, okay, what could you apply? Wow, how far is it going to go? Well, you can't really say, but you have a lot of heavy volume here too. But you know, one way you can measure it and say, well, the down move here was 160 to 110, 50 points, another 50 points, put you down to 60. That might be one way to look at it and see how far we might go down on that. So, yeah, so that's kind of, so everything getting beat up. Now you kind of wonder if this is like getting to a point where we're going to have like a capitulation day, a day where there's so much selling that it just kind of like peters out and then, you know, basically set up for reversal. But yeah, I don't really know. So I think that, yeah, the big thing is that, why is CVS doing that? Look at that thing move up. What the hey? Interesting. Domino's went up, EA, eBay, Enphase being dog meat, Etsy kind of dog meat, big gaps there. XPI, Facebook. See a lot of some of the bigger name stocks took hits. Let's see, Fubo, Arcimoto selling, sell, and GameStop finally waking up to the downside. GT Biopharma, oh look at that thing, GT Biopharma, huh? That had a nice move. I wasn't paying attention to that. Depot doing okay. So I guess not everything is getting beat up, but definitely, there seems to, oh, look at Lemonade getting beat up too. Lowe's doing okay. Lululemon okay. Metro Mile, interesting one here. Look how it's, look how this thing is. Look how, you have this, it came down, boop, 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 and lower lows, lower highs. But, well, it's too early to say. I'm going to say that because this in its down move, if this finds support in here, somewhere around here, you could put in a higher low, but not really. I mean, it's too early to say, right? We had a really big down day. But see, because this move was so strong, you have a setup where potentially it could peter out and lose its momentum to the downside. But we'll see about that. I don't know. Get rid of that. And so let's see some other stuff. Shopify. Let's see what this is doing. Doing much. Sundial. Sundial Growers. Look at that thing. CBD marijuana plays. That one's kind of, I don't know. I want to speculate on that a little bit, maybe just for the heck of it. Snowflake. Square kind of getting a little beat up today. Teladoc, ooh, beat up. Yeah, so I guess it all comes back to the question, inflation or no inflation. I think that, it's so funny because you look at it when you do the analysis of what happened in March of last year when the stock market just cratered and the Fed just pulled out all the stops. And then after we came out of that, you kind of just have this view by everyone that like, oh, well, the Fed's just going to keep printing and supporting, let's just say supporting the market in any way they can. But, they're going to hit a wall. I mean, so here's the thing, and we don't know, like if the inflation is just transitory, if they're right about that, then sure, it'll be fine. 4 or 5 months from now, it'd be like, no big deal. But if it's not transitory, then it's going to be an issue. And then the Fed will have to come in and do something. And the funny thing is they will fight it. They will fight doing anything. And why will they fight? Because they'd have to, if they do something, then they have to admit that they were wrong. And they don't really want to do that. And because with all the debt that we have as a country, we can't handle higher rates. So for them to like increase rates is just, devastating. So what would they have to do? They would just have to let inflation run very hot. And what would they do with that? Basically, I don't know. I assume they would try to get back into, the agencies that they have that are reporting the CPI and the PPI and try to like have those guys do some more work and like cooking the numbers, So, well, I think that's it for this one. So I think the, big picture summary is, this may have, the selling in the speculative stocks may have finally hit the indices today. So got to be a little bit careful. All right, that's it. Bye.